as we are about to start, just wanted to welcome all the students connected. It is a great pleasure for me to moderate this live session. So today we are connected with the University of Milan, and we're going to talk about innovative teaching. We have the pleasure to have with us three professors at the university. So I'd like to welcome the Professor Vacchiano, and he's a professor for the Master in Sustainable Natural Resource Management. We have the Professor Ortenzi, that is actually professor for this Cosmetic Industrial Science Master degree, and he's going to tell us more how this master degree actually started, why at the University of Milan, and telling us more about the innovative teaching. And we also have the Professor Capra, and is actually a full professor for a bachelor degree in anti-civilization for contemporary world. Already mentioned before that we have the pleasure to have with us two students. So I'd like to welcome Matteo and Leander, and together with them, we'd like to find out more about their experience at the University of Milan, why they choose this university, and if they have any advice for you. So for all the questions, use the Q&A box. And I guess we're ready to start. So I'd like to leave the floor to the Professor Vacchiano. And the idea for this first intervention is to discover how within those courses, we actually talk about innovative teaching, and also great thing is the professors and the students will be connected to answer any sort of question that you might have at the end. Professor, I leave you the floor, and we remain available for the question for the students.
Thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone connected. It's great to have such an international audience and prospective students here. So I'm Professor Vacchiano. My teaching course is Forest and Ecological Restoration. So we're talking about forests here in the degree major of Sustainable Natural Resource Management. So to tell you how we're going to teach these 45 credits course, let me first tell you what are the problems that we have to face when meeting an international student audience and how we are going to solve them. So problem number one, of course, we have to study forests, and we have to study how to restore forests to make them more able to fight against the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis. So we're talking about ecology, talking about land management, but it's really hard to learn and experiment these things firsthand while staying in the classroom. So this is problem number one that we have somehow to solve. And Milan is not in the middle of a magnificent forest. So it's not only in the classroom, but also in the mid of a bustling European city. So not exactly the ecosystem that we have to study. And of course, problem or resource opportunity, I would say, number two, is that our students often come from very different backgrounds, very different countries, for example, developing and developed countries, where environmental challenges might differ a lot, but also they have different study backgrounds. Some are more learned in forestry or ecology already. Some others have done some kind of environmental or agricultural studies, and some other students still have to start from scratch with these topics. So how are we going to do this in a fun and interesting way? Well, we have a course that is divided in 4 parts. So we deliver our content using 4 different approaches. The first one inevitably is a small part. The first 2 weeks, of course, we're going through some frontal lessons to make them more interesting and less boring. We're using a lot of videos and interactive polls. So we interact a lot with a small group of students in the classroom, but this is intended to give to everyone the basis that they might lack to then be able to cover further content in the course. But then we go into the more practical side of things. Part 2 of the course is made with practical activities on real-world case studies and policy documents. So I started assigning activities in the classroom and working together with students in the classroom on real-world forest challenges, policy documents such as European laws, for example. We have a new law on natural restoration in Europe. So we try to understand what is written in these laws, what are the challenges, and to apply them to some real cases that we present in the classroom. Then we move to meet someone that already works in this environment. So we have seminars or webinars involving experts from different parts of the world that meet students and tell them about the challenges of this job, of the job of restoring and sustainably managing forests. And then finally, we have 3 or 4 in-course assignments, which become a part of the final assessment of the course, of the learning objectives, by which students, either individually or in groups, begin to work towards building a final project. So the course ends up with a project. The students have to come up with a plan to restore some damaged forest. Just one example of the in-course activity and assignment that were quite successful last year. We have a debate on forest restoration. You might have heard that planting trees is something that now everyone talks about globally, political parties, businesses, governments, and so on, but it has some pros and cons. And so we organize a debate, we prepare students, we give them some learning material so that they can debate the pros and cons on of tree planting as a global scale forest restoration strategy. And then in the end, we go finally to the field. So we have several field trips. We try to visit at least 3 or 4 different situations, degraded forest in Lombardy region. So maybe 1 or 2 hours drive from Milan that are in need of restoration. And we choose one of the sites where we spend 2 or 3 intensive days, also sleeping in local hotels or local accommodations. And we take data, we take measurements in the field, we compare a degraded forest with a restored or intact forest, and it's 3 or 4 teachers that are present, so a multidisciplinary endeavor here to enable students to learn how to measure quantitatively forest ecology and how to plan and take data for their final project. And all this data enter the final project, and then they prepare in 2 or 3 weeks the final projects for the exam. As a bonus feature, and I'm almost done here, we are starting to use also immersive videos technology as another tool to go into the forest without actually going into the forest. It's not always that we can go outside. And so we are shooting these immersive videos while in the forest and then showing them to students. These kind of videos, these kind of tools also allow students to have own self-paced learning. So they watch the videos on their computer at home and they make interactive activities. And in this way, they learn while being immersed in a virtual forest environment. And finally, we have set up for the whole degree a steering committee of experts, and we have periodic meetings with professionals in the field so that they can tell us what the job market is requiring to our students. So we have periodic assessment with the experts, and we move or shift things in our programs, in our learning programs, to accommodate for the new needs of the job market in environmental resource management. And that's all I have to say. I'm open to any questions on your side.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Professor, for the presentation. I can see that we started to receive some questions, which is great. To keep writing them into the Q&A box. Even if you have a question more specific on the programs, that's why is a great pleasure to have here the professors. So it's now time to leave the floor to our second speaker. So welcome the Professor Ortenzi, and we're still into the master degree area, but we're going to talk about cosmetic industrial science, and the professor is giving us an overview on the program. And when we actually chat, it was very interesting to find out why actually was developed by the University of Milan. There is a specific reason, and the professor is gonna go through it. Professor, I leave you the floor. And for the students, keep writing your question in the Q&A. We're going to answer them at the end.
Okay, so thank you very much, Federica. Now I'll share my slides and we start. So can you see them?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So let's go. I will talk about master degree course in cosmetic industrial science. I'm Marco Ortenzi, I'm an industrial chemist, and I'm the teacher in the polymeric ingredient course within CosmIS, Cosmetic Industrial Science. CosmIS is a master degree program that is belongs to the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and Professor Lucia Zema is the head of the study program. So why this course here in Milan? The reason is quite simple. Maybe you do not know that about more than 60% of cosmetics used worldwide are produced in the Beauty Valley between Milan, Bergamo, and Cremona. So this is the reason why we started with this course in Milan. We have almost all the cosmetics used worldwide produced here. And this turns out also in why this course now, because now the turnover of Italian companies devoted to cosmetics is increasing a lot, as well as the product export of Italian cosmetic companies that are responsible for a quite high share of the turnover worldwide. And the third question might be why the course is from the Department of Pharmaceutical Science. And the reason is that the Pharmaceutical Science Department has a long history related to the research in the cosmetic field. But right now, there are only some post-degree master that are held in Italian. So we needed something to, let's say, to have a higher audience for the course. So we decided to create a master degree course 1 year ago. So the course is quite new, I would say. This is now the second year has just begun. How it is enrolled, let's say, it belongs to the LM71 category. So it belongs to the categories of the master degrees in chemical industry, science, and technologies. And therefore, it aims to train a graduate having skills in the research, development, industrial production, quality, and also marketing of cosmetic products. Given the high amount of companies present here and also in all Europe, the graduates will be quite immediately ready for placement in position at different levels in companies and also in organizations. For example, we think that most of you, in case, will find employment in the R&D department, for example, for the synthesis or production of raw materials, or in the manufacturing of packaging of products like skincare, hygiene, shampoos, and so on, but also in the Q&A department of the quality and safety, and last but not least, regulatory or even marketing fields. Remember, you can also obviously find job in the agencies responsible for regulatory and so on, and why not even in obviously universities, thanks to the presence of doctoral programs for the LM71 classes. Being a master degree course, you need 180 credits to start enrolling for the course, and there will be a test on chemical and biological disciplines, as well as an evaluation of your overall CV, let's say. It's a 2-year course, so 4 semesters, so you will gain 120 credits. And since it is an international course and it is in English, a minimum B2 level is required to follow the course itself. Numbers so far, the first year, 2023 and 2024, so a total of 30 students admitted, more or less half and half Italian and international. This year is a work in progress because it's just the beginning of October. Right now, we have 36 students that will increase over time. 21 are Italian, 15 are international. Since we have also some practical laboratories, we will see them better. Practical laboratories are compulsory, whereas lectures are only, let's say, strongly recommended. You can choose if to follow them or not. But here it comes one of the, let's say, innovations of CosmIS, because since we know there is a lot of people coming from outside Europe also, we want to favor these students. The first year sees a timetable based on a 4 days a week program. So Friday is usually free. And the first month is completely online. So usually it works like October is online with synchronous and asynchronous lessons. Then there is a couple of weeks of stop between the end of October and the beginning of November. And then in early November, lessons start in presence. The second year is mainly online to foster working in companies, because as we will see quite soon, the internship to get the final master will be in a company. And also we want to place some attention to working students, because we want also to favor working people to get a master degree in the end if they don't, or if they have another one and they want a second one. So working students can ask for registered lessons and also have access to other benefits. Let's say, for example, if you work already in a laboratory, you don't need to follow the practical laboratories of the teaching because you are supposed to know already what is done there. And checking the, let's say, the teachings overall, you will for sure have some, let's say, chemistry teaching in organic, and polymeric ingredients, as well as functional ingredients. But then you will also have some notions regarding marketing and communication, biology, obviously, skin and toxicology, for example, and also some exams related more to the technologies of packagings and on the analysis of cosmetic ingredients. In the last semester, as I said, there will be the internship that will take most of the semester. And this internship will be, as I said, in a company. Right now, you will see that later on, we have a quite big portfolio of companies that are willing to host students that will spend 6 months there to work on a topic that is obviously consistent with the training path they have in CosmIS. So the project in the company will define the thesis and the final exam. Here you find some of the companies that have helped us creating this course, and also bottom right, you see some of the companies that have helped us creating the laboratories, both providing instruments and raw materials and so on. Other activities involve, for example, attending fairs, making cosmetics, Cosmoprof, and Cream Beauty Days. Obviously, since a lot of these companies are in Italy, most of them are in Milan and neighborhood area in the Beauty Valley, and also some projects. For example, you will see the photos in the next slide. In May, we created a project because we created our own scent, and we said to students to find a brand, names, and the reason why they could find the name in order to have some naming and branding by the students. We have to say grazie to a lot of companies. The ones you see here are the ones that already said they're willing to host students. Obviously, the portfolio has just started. This will be the first year for the second year students. So we will improve constantly and increase the portfolio, checking companies in Italy and also abroad, as you can see. So more or less, this is all. Now I just leave you with some photos. For example, this was the scent project day, so where students tried to find a way, a name for the scent, divided in groups of 2 or 3 people. This was participation in Making Cosmetics 2023 and the Open Day in June 2024. And just 1 month ago, I took part to Crema Beauty Days in Crema, obviously. And that was quite nice and funny for them. And I would say that's all. So you can ask information and for everything, and open for questions, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. And a couple of questions actually arrived. One is very specific, but we can go through later. One thing I haven't mentioned is the webinar is recorded. Some of the students were actually mentioned that maybe, we know that is a webinar fully held in English as the courses are. But you can be able to rewatch it. So in case you want to make sure that you get all the details that the speakers are talking about, the webinar is recorded, and we're going to share with you a recording over the next few days. Now it's time to hand the floor to the Professor Capra. So we've been talking about 2 master's degrees. Now time to talk about a bachelor degree, as I actually know that some of you connected today will be interested in a bachelor degree level program. And he's a professor for Ancient Civilization for Contemporary World. So Professor, I leave you the floor, and we look forward to hearing about the course.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of the people who joined us. Well, I'm saying tonight because I'm in Italy, but I know that for other people, it's different times. I hope you can hear me well and also see me. Now, in a minute, I'm going to share my screen to show you just a few slides as a way to introduce you to the program I'll be talking about. So hopefully you're now seeing my screen well, actually. That's not exactly what I wanted you to see, but yeah, here is the thing. So
we can't see at the moment, sorry, we can't just see the presentation.
Okay, let me try again. let's see why this is not working. How about now? That should be working, I hope.
Perfect.
All right, good. Phew, we made it. So ancient civilizations for the contemporary world are very much like my colleague's notion of the beauty valley. That was referred, of course, to cosmetics, but what I'm gonna talk about may, in a sense, interpret this notion in a slightly different way, because
Professor, can I just ask you to put it full screen so for the students we can see it?
Yeah, like this,
Perfect.
maybe.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. So basically, this is a new program which started last year. So we are very young, very much in our developing phase. And it's a very new thing for the University of Milan. Not only, well, there are a few programs in English, although it's very limited up to this point. But the very really innovative thing about this program is that it involves, actually, I'm here from the University of Milan. I'm a professor of Greek literature, ancient Greek literature. But it involves, in fact, two universities, namely Milan University, as you can see here, and Ca' Foscari University of Venice. So it's an inter-university program, and this is probably one of the most innovative and also challenging aspects of the whole enterprise. What does that mean in practice? So to begin with, you can see here that we have a general broad idea of how to complement and combine these two universities. You can see there the keywords: tradition and innovation, innovation and tradition. So it's great to have Venice, which is, in a sense, is an open-air museum, with Milan, namely the most thriving and vibrant city in Italy, by all accounts. And the idea then was to combine these two universities in order to present students with a rather varied cultural landscape. And the idea is also to combine past and present. And in that sense, having Milan and Venice at the same time is probably an asset for us. One of the key ideas we have is basically, as you can see here, studying past civilization to build an inclusive society. So this is a program which is devoted to antiquity, but unlike many such programs in Italy and, shall we say, in Europe, or let's use this controversial maybe expression, the Western world, it's not about solely the Greek and Roman world. The idea is rather to combine ancient civilizations from all across the planet. And that's one of the points that I really want to stress here. Obviously, given the trouble we're in these days worldwide, this has also a cultural, but I would say also a political kind of message that would, well, like to present students with the idea, as it's written here, of building an inclusive society based on real knowledge of our past and how the past is used for the present. As I said, it's an inter-university BA degree. And now the question, I would imagine, would be for any of you, how this might work. Because, all right, this is a program which has an emphasis on attendance. So we want students to be there physically most of the time, but it's based in two different sites. So let's imagine that some of you will be based in Milan and some of you will be based in Venice. What happens in practice? Let's imagine that one of you, just to imagine a student, let's say that Maria, I think there was a Maria who connected right at the beginning. Maria is studying in Milan. She is based in Milan. She will attend classes in Milan directly, but of course, part of what she needs to attend will be offered in Venice. In that case, what happens is that she'll be in the classroom along with other people based in Milan, and most importantly, along with someone, a tutor, who will act as a mediator between Milan and Venice. So it will still be a form of direct attendance, but in a blended form. But blended in this case means not that you are attending your classes from your home, although that's possible for certain courses, but generally speaking, attendance and being together is something that we strongly recommend. And there's this idea of having someone acting as a bridge, as a mediator between the two sides. It's a new program. It started last year, and I have to say I talked to one of the tutors and to students and, of course, to my colleagues, and they were all very enthusiastic. So we are really in that kind of honeymoon phase when really we are trying something new, and we're really trying our best to make this work. And in fact, it is working for all we can see from now. This is a BA degree. There's an admission test because there's a maximum of 100 students. Why is there this cap? The cap is there because some of the activities are really connected with the environment, not forests, as was the case of my colleague, but with what I may again call the Beauty Valley, namely all of the, say, museums, archaeological sites, exhibitions, landscapes, cultural landscapes that you can find in northern Italy and elsewhere. Because one of the important things is that some of the activities will be directly experienced in the nearby areas, but we also have a very ambitious program of, say, archaeological missions, field trips, and things like that. It's a 3-year program. Maybe I'll show you later how this is actually organized. And as I said, the location may be Milan or Venice, depending on the choice of students. 25 people will be necessarily, or at least there's a, a minimum of 25 people from non-European countries. So this is a way to favor integration with distant places, which is one of our aims. And of course, the program is entirely in English. That's pretty obvious. This is what we're talking about. As for the contents, as you can read here, the course aims to provide a solid knowledge and training in the management and promotion of cultural heritage and adopts an interdisciplinary approach to explore cultural contacts between different civilizations in Europe, North Africa, Eastern, Western Asia, etc. Now, when it comes to talking about cultural heritage, the important distinction we have to make is between tangible and intangible. Both areas are recognized as officially and internationally as cultural heritage. So tangible cultural heritage, history and interpretation, and here we're talking about disciplines such as, say, ancient history or anthropology. But there's also clearly more concrete things, how to discover, catalog things. We're talking about archaeological sites, archives, monuments, and things like that. But heritage is also about intangible things, such as thought, history of religions, or indeed language. Language is, of course, part of the intangible cultural heritage. So these are the main areas that we are covering in the course. The basic cultural goal is the thing I've been talking about so far. But I would imagine that people will wonder, okay, I may become a very inclusive citizen, a terrific citizen, someone able to connect with people from all over the world with a social kind of conscience, but then I need a job. So when it comes to that, all right, Italy is probably the country, and I could even omit the probably adverb, it's indeed the country featuring the highest, quantity of monuments and cultural sites compared to its size. And so there are lots of opportunities in Italy itself. But of course, we aim also to provide people with the possibility of finding jobs elsewhere. As you can read here, students will acquire a basic know-how, critical awareness, and open-mindedness for the inclusive society. But when it comes to employment, it's about working in archaeological sites, working in museums, working for exhibitions, and taking part in cultural associations, foundations, and similar bodies. The important thing to stress is that this profile as a cultural communicator or consultant, if you prefer to use that word, is really ingrained in the program, because one of the innovative traits of the program is that part of the classes will be closely connected with actual sites, actual museums. So for example, there's one module program in which the teacher is from a museum, a Milan museum, and part of the classes will take place exactly in the museum. This is called the MUDEC, and it's once again a museum which promotes interaction between ancient and modern cultures from different areas of the world. And so this is basically the profile, someone who will be able to take part in such activities and act as a cultural mediator, as a cultural actor. And so, to name just a few, museums, as I said, archaeology is another area. Obviously, this is a BA degree, so many people will probably want to continue to study. Our aim is twofold. On one hand, we want students to be ready to find a job, and our many internships are precisely designed to promote that possibility. But at the same time, clearly, if students want to continue, they can do anything from archaeology, literature, even, say, anthropology. If they're interested in the history of religion, they can do something related to that. There are plenty of possibilities from that point of view. And finally, if it's not too late, let me check the time, because time passes quickly, obviously, but
it is fine. We do have time. Yes, no problem.
If you do have time, I'll just show you very quickly how the program is structured. It's rather simple in a sense, because it's neatly divided into, well, 3 years, obviously. It's a BA, it's a 3-year program. And for each year, there are compulsory modules or courses, whatever you want to call them. So here you have year 1 with modules.
We cannot see if you're sharing like a website or a different slide, we can't see at the moment.
You cannot see it. Let me see if I can. I'll stop sharing and start it again in case it works better. Let me see. Now it should appear. The
yes,
magic.
Perfect, yes.
The magic is with us. Oops, good. Apologies for the glitch. So here is the what you find basically on the Milan University website, and similar things you will find on the Venice counterpart But basically, you can see there are compulsory modules, such as for the first year, archaeology of Western Asia, Greek and Roman history, intellectual history of the ancient Near East, introduction to pharaonic Egypt, then more general things such as public and community archaeology and digital cultural heritage, the Gospel of India. So you see many, many things. And then there's a vast selection of, well, optional activities. And among the optional activities, there are also the internships I was referring to, as well as a number of other courses. Same goes for year 2 with cultural anthropology, Greek and Roman art, and archaeology, Greek, and which is my thing, Greek literature and Latin literature, and then teaching workshops in terms of theory and techniques. These are the compulsory things, and then you have the optional modules. And importantly, obviously, in the last year, along with another group of compulsory modules, such as art and law, history of Chinese and Japanese art, coins, history of Indian art, introduction to Italian literature, you do have what we call the final exam, which will be tailored basically to students' preferences. Now, we are now running the second year of this program, so this is not happening yet, but it will happen from next year. And typically, we give the opportunity to students in Milan more broadly, because this is the first time, to focus on something of their choice and to develop independent work and even independent research. With that, I think I'd better stop. I probably talked even too much. Of course, I'm very happy to get questions if you have any. And I thank you all for the attention from, really from all over the world, as I saw in the chat right at the beginning of this meeting. So thanks a lot. I'm now stopping the sharing, and over to you, Federica.
Perfect.
I think to the meeting.
Thank you so much. And yes, thanks so much for the presentation to you and to all the professors. We started to receive some questions, and I can see Professor already start typing some answers. Whoever is connected, please keep using the Q&A box, and we're going to read some of them live after the presentation. At the beginning, I've introduced you to students at the University of Milan, and it's a pleasure for me to say that we also have connected Matteo and Leander. And the idea for them is actually to share with you their journey and how they choose the University of Milan, how they, they found their course, more in general, like different systems, so how they adapt, and to give you some sort of advice in case you're wondering what it's like to study in Italian university. And of course, they also be available for your questions, so feel free to drop them into the Q&A. Maybe we can start with Matteo. So Matteo, I leave you the floor. Just tell us, like, how was your journey at the University of Milan, and how did you find out about the program? So if I'm not mistaken, you're studying politics, philosophy, and public affairs. So how was your journey at the University of Milan, and anything that you want to share with the audience tonight?
Thank you, Federica. Hello to everyone. I'm Matteo, as Federica introduced me. Indeed, I'm doing a master's, which is taught entirely in English, which is called Philosophy, Politics, Philosophy, and Public Affairs. I found the University of Milan because it is a very funny story, and that's because one of my co-workers studied at this same university, and he studied political science 20 years ago. I got in contact with him, and he suggested me to look into the syllabus because he remembered that there was a great deal of choice that one could make. And I started digging a bit. I also started looking at some potential programs. I wanted to do something on political science. And at the end, I found this one in particular, which for me, it was very neat. Coming here was a bit of a journey too. It was like 7-8 months of doing a lot of paperwork between the translations, the authentications, everything. As you told, I'm from Colombia, so it is a great deal of things that one must do before coming here. But in the end, I arrived. I got here 1 month after the class started, more or less. And it has been an incredible experience. I mean, for me, the fact of getting to know people from basically all over the world, from Asia to other colleagues of mine, of Latin America to Africa, it's incredible to have the opportunity to share so much with these many people, these many perspectives. The professors have been incredible. There's a very rich and vast quantity of research of subjects that you can specialize on if you want, because for the second year, you can choose basically the majority of your courses, almost all of them. And it has been incredible. And also, I don't know, like the city, the sight of going out of the metro and looking at the Duomo, it's something to behold, to be honest. I've really enjoyed my experience here. I must also say that the university has helped me in enjoying that experience. When I first came here, I remember the first week I was completely lost. And there's a great service that I used a lot, which is the International Students Welcome Desk. And they guided me to getting everything in, I don't know, from accommodation to the paperwork to everything. They were incredibly helpful. And after that, I mean, it has been a very pleasant experience. I also had the fortune of getting a scholarship. That was one of the reasons why I also chose the university. I, in particular, wanted this particular scholarship, which is the excellence one, but there are more. And I found it very appealing because I looked into other universities and the possibility of getting a scholarship wasn't so great, and my means were not so rich, let's say, for getting that. So overall, it has been an incredible experience. It has been a very different experience for sure.
That's
And
good. One thing, so you mentioned scholarships, which is great because I know that some of the students actually were asking if there is the opportunity. One thing I wanted to ask, because I know the excellence scholarships is also based on merit. So if you have any sort of tips on how to deal with exam, I mean, each system has a different way. There might be more oral exam, written exam. So if you can share anything in terms of tips to be successful at exam that you want to share, maybe even, you know, based on your experience and the university system that you come from.
I must say that this particular system in Italy, it's very different because here you can choose between being an attending or a non-attending student for the majority of the courses, I would say. In Colombia, I had to attend all the courses, and here is more a strategic choice. I mean, of course, I would suggest attending. That's my first suggestion, even if you can choose to stay in your home, engaging with your peers, talking with the professor, deepening your knowledge on the topic. It's essential, I would say, but still, it's a strategic choice. Maybe it would be better for you to study alone, but I wouldn't recommend it, but it could work. On the second hand, I would say that I at least use a lot of time techniques. I use Pomodoros. So what I would do is that here in Italy, you get the syllabus of your course on the first day. So you already know which deliverables you have to do, which readings you have to do, in which dates more or less the exams are held. And what I would suggest is to start reading from the start. I mean, from day one, basically, get all the readings, start doing them, and make some summaries and some notes of them. And then on the last month, when, like 30 days before the exams, start reading your summaries and your notes. And at the end, you go to the classroom and you do well. If you don't understand a topic, another thing that I do is that I usually study in group. I think that, I don't know, for reading a particular text that is very difficult, it's better to have a lot of perspectives. And on the scholarship, I mean, as you said, it is based on merit, but there are, again, there's a pool of scholarships that one can choose from in the sense of applying. And more than that, the university also offers other aids, let's say, but I don't know, like finding accommodation, which is very expensive in Milan, or even refectory or some meals, which is something which is very good. I mean,
Perfect. Thank you so much. I don't know
For
if there
sure.
was anything else that you wanted to add. One final question I wanted to ask is, what are your future plans? If you know you're planning on keep on studying, or you're planning on getting a job, staying in Italy, if you have any idea.
I mean, I think I want to do a PhD here in Italy. At the moment, I'm also working. I work with an Italian company, but I would say that on my nearby future, I would like to continue my academic career, most probably in political science. I've already started doing my thesis, and I really enjoy academic work, let's say. And I also enjoy the capacity that the university brings for you to make very different research, you know, because you can choose a lot of methods, you can choose from a lot of theories, you can choose from a pool of professors that know a lot. So I would say that, yeah, my aim is for sure for getting a PhD.
Great, thank you, Matteo. And of course, you remain available for any question that the audience might have. You talked about thesis, and actually this is great because we have Leander that just mentioned that he's back in Berlin, his own country, to write his thesis. So Leander, leave you the floor, and looking forward to hearing about your story and how your journey was.
Yes, hi. So first of all, hi to everyone. I'm calling from Berlin. I just returned home, let's say, from Milan, and I must admit that I had like two of the most beautiful years in my life. Yeah, right now I'm writing my thesis, and as you can see, you can also do it like from abroad, and I'm still in great touch with my professors, yes, that are accompanying me during my thesis, so this is all totally doable. Yeah, in hindsight, I first wanted to reflect a bit like on the motivation why in the first place did I come to Italy. I was looking for an English.
We kind of missed you for a second. I think the audio is not great. Let's try now. No, still.
Hope so. No. Then give me a second.
It's the beauty of live event. Don't worry, don't worry. No, we can't hear you at the moment. No, it's still no.
No, it's terrible. It doesn't get better.
Unfortunately not. We can try. If something is not working, we can also. Perfect. Now it works. Now it works.
Now it works. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I stopped when I was talking about like my motivation to come to Italy, and I was looking for a profile course like with prolific professors in English, and especially like in a very neatly circumscribed area of philosophy. So I'm studying philosophy and like the formal logics part. And I was looking for a university that was like really like in the top notch, also in the international competition. And of course, like as I wasn't that confident in my Italian when I first arrived, of course, also like the English aspect was very important to me. And at the same time, I was looking like for a lively city that is vibrant, that is also like giving me some stimuli for me as a young person. And in hindsight, I gotta say that all like these boxes have been ticked. I'm still super happy about my choice, and yeah, all the motivation, all the dreams I had before definitely came true. So this is the second part. I also wanted to reflect a bit on my experience. As I said, like right now I'm in Berlin, everything's gray outside. People are a bit more grim. What I admire most about the time in Italy was like the high school like camaraderie and the warmth of the people. That was something I did not know from German university, we had a lot of exchange between the students. We had study groups. So when the exam session came about, we met in small groups. We talked it all over. And when you're studying social studies or any sort of humanities, this is, I think, really the key to becoming a great student and also like sort of a teacher. So that was something I did not know, but that became an integral part of my life on campus in reality. So there was like this campus culture. There was a familiarity with professors and also with your other co-students, which is not to be underestimated. And the second main point when it comes to like my experience, I think like Matteo already touched upon it, was like the student-friendly exam sessions. One point is very, very, very important, namely you can choose between different exam dates. So here in Germany, for example, you have basically at the end of a semester, you have to give one exam after another. So you basically have 3 weeks packed with all the exams. Now, in Italy, you can choose. And this is great because you can prepare all your exams meticulously. You have a lot of time to prepare, you can choose. And even like when there is something that does not permit you to give the exam on this date, this is no problem. Just like show up a month later and no feelings are hurt and you're not in any sort of stress. So this also allows you to really meet your merit requirements or also like your expectations you might have in yourself. That was also something that is quite rewarding because like it gives you the time to study according to your interest. Yes. So far, this was my experience.
This is great. And is there any sort of tips or piece of advice that you feel like giving to students that might be considering studying abroad, perhaps in the University of Milan or in general?
I only want to give you one tip, and this is talk. Talk to the people. Talk to everyone you see on the floors because Italians are super accommodating and helpful. And that is something, as I pointed out earlier, I did not know from my university. So people are really trying to get you on board. They're trying to integrate yourself. Of course, when you speak Italian, this makes it more easier. But also when you're just like an international, Italians are really, really welcome. And I want to encourage you to exploit that because it makes life easier and also more beautiful at the same time. So talk. That was something I had to learn like in the first 3 months when I arrived in Milan. People are actually chatting outside of the lecture rooms. They really try to get to know you. So,
Oh, I think the audio is again bad. Sorry. I don't know, it's something to do. No, still, but we did get the message. Actually, talk. I mean, Italian, we do love to talk, and it's something. It is something great. So maybe while we're trying to fix this, because we're coming, let's say,
I just like
yeah, little bit, yes.
Okay. Because like I just disconnected from my earpods. Yes, but actually I was about to finish. It's just like talk. People outside, the small chatters outside the lecture rooms are super important, especially like when you're coming from a cold people like the Germans are.
Well, thank you so much, both Matteo and Leander, for your sharing. We are about to close, but we still wanted to go through a couple of questions. I know that some already were answered in the chat. We have a question for the Professor Capra, and actually, how do you choose the internship? Is there a help of an office? Is the student, him or herself, that decide what could be the best fit? How does it work?
Right now, there's an option of talking to people, right? You know, just to repeat what our student from Berlin, and I thank him for what he said. was saying, talk, 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 talk. So we have a list of internships, but the best way to understand which is better for you is really to talk to people, really talk to your teachers and professors, and try to get a sense of what they involve. That's what I would say. Now, the list of internships, of course, is expanding. It changes every year. But I would say that the main source of information is direct contact with people who are busy with them in a very practical way. So that would be my answer.
Perfect, thank you so much. There was also a question for the Professor Ortenzi regarding job opportunities and career. So if there would be the option for students to stay in Milan, or if in your experience, actually students and then decide to go back home and let's say start their career there.
Yeah, actually, as I said, most of the companies in the world producing cosmetics are here. So it's quite easy to find the job. In Italy and in Milan, Crema and Bergamo area. And as a matter of fact, when we started collecting the interest of companies for the internship of students, in just 1 month, 1.5 months, we had 25 companies willing to host students, and the number is increasing. So this gives the idea about the need there is for such specific, let's say, studies on the topic. Obviously, you can go everywhere in the world, so you are not bound to Italy. We have also L'Oréal asking for students for the internship and so on, and they are in France actually, and other companies that are not in Italy. So it's pretty free. There is there are a lot of jobs to be found. Obviously, I would say that if you will go and want to work in an Italian company, in a small one, it's better to learn some Italian. I mean, obviously, you can work on high levels using English, but then when you have to talk to the people involved in the company itself, it's better to have at least some notions of Italian to be able to speak with everyone. But it's easy to find a job, I would say. Yeah.
Many thanks. And actually connecting to that, I remember I was talking to Marta and Anna, they mentioned that you do have a service, is the SLAM, and is actually organizing courses for students. So one thing that is also worth mentioning is the courses are entirely held in English, but there is a service that you can reach to, and they will organize for free Italian classes. So this is something also important to say. We're coming towards the end of our webinar, and I wanted to thank our speakers, and also wanted to thank all of you for being connected, for all of your questions, and you stayed connected until the end, which was great. Over the next few days, we will be sharing with you a recording of the event, and also some useful information, like an email address that you can refer in case you have any further question. We have another webinar scheduled in November, so we will keep you posting about the next day. So in case you wanted to join to find out more about the University of Milan, it is great. And as you can see, the team is very much approachable. The professors, the students, and also the international students team. So feel free to reach out to them, and they will be able to support you in any way to make this a very important choice. So thank you so much for everyone. So someone was just waiting for a certificate for the attendance. I'm just gonna get your email and we're gonna email it to you. Thank you, Elena, for joining, and thank you all. And I wish you a great rest of your day, and we look forward to see you soon at the next live webinar of the University of Milan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
to
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a
Thank you for
great one.
attending.
Bye.